The Hidden Disaster was a conference that we held in March this year, 2012, about the co-occurrence of family violence and natural disaster. We observed that this seemed to be happening. Family violence was increasing after Black Saturday, particularly in the shires of Mitchell and Murrindindi, mainly because they were perhaps worst affected. But when we tried to raise the issue, there was an enormous resistance from people. I think all the gains that we'd made over the past 20 years in family violence being recognised just vanished, you know, in the aftermath of a disaster. And in trying to work out why this is and why people were so resistant to the idea of us even asking the question if family violence had increased, is because everyone was suffering. The communities were so vulnerable. Men were suffering, and these were men who had been heroes in the fire. Perhaps now they were unemployed because their workplaces had been destroyed. Perhaps they'd lost family members. So nobody wanted to imagine that these people who really encapsulate, you know, that whole idea of resilience and heroism that we like to think of ourselves as Australians, they didn't want to see that in any way tarnished. So what this conference did was bring in Elaine Ennison, who's an international expert on gender and disaster from America, and then Lois Herbert, who came from New Zealand after the Christchurch earthquakes. She was managing the refuge there. They were our two keynote speakers, and it was held in partnership with the Australian Domestic Family Violence Clearinghouse. Megan from there was a fabulous speaker, and she compared some of the research. Cathy, it was a bit similar to your research in that there was really nothing written, particularly in the developed context. In developing countries, I think we're more than happy to say that it happens, but not here on our own turf. What else could we say? Oh, a key feature of the conference was the hypothetical, and Cathy was part of it. What did you think of it, Cathy?
Oh, it was really interesting because basically we got a whole bunch of people who had been involved in the post-fire reconstruction in some way. So some people from the police, some people from local communities, some people from local councils, and also some experts on bushfire and emergency management. Yeah. And so I was able to give a bit of a background about the way women are affected by climate change and about the way that violence against women operates. And so we got to put all of these issues into a broader research context while also combining them with sort of the experiences of people who'd been on the ground.
I think what surprised us too was, even though we were hitting brick walls, people saying it wasn't happening, once we advertised the conference, we thought we could have 170 people there, and we had to cut it off at 230. So people on the ground were acknowledging that it was happening and they wanted to know more information about it. And perhaps most heartening was the Deputy Commissioner of Police in Victoria, Tim Cartwright, who came along to open it, and his speech was so fantastic, and he recognised the role of masculinity, the way we construct it, as a problem. At the conference we had two of the women who were affected, and they gave their own first-person accounts. It was very powerful, with hardly a dry eye in the house. One of the women said that the police came up to her during the conference and said, would she help in the training of police for future disasters? Another thing was some of the bushfire case managers are really interested in us developing training for disaster workers as part of their orientation. So they're the two key outcomes that, you know, we just couldn't wish for more than that.
Yeah, and we have got very positive responses from all of the attendees as well.
Yes.
Or many of them.
Yeah, that's very true. So I think really we've shone a light on something that people preferred not to even see before.